Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Daniel Rosal here. I recorded a video earlier today on how to install fonts on Ubuntu Linux. The easy way, there's a built-in font manager, and how to download TTF files, which are TrueType fonts, from the internet, and then how to install additional fonts onto your operating system, for me, Ubuntu Linux. So I got a comment from Brooke2059 saying, Shalom from Mevatzeret Zion. Can you please do a video on how to find and install Hebrew fonts? Toda Rabba. So this is actually a great idea for a video because there are lots of Hebrew fonts out there on the internet. And in this video, I want to just show people where to find those. So the first website worth mentioning is freefont.co.il. Now there are commercial paid fonts available in Hebrew, just so there are commercial fonts in English. But if you're looking to just dip your toes in the water or install a few fonts on your computer, then there are some great free fonts to get you going in the world of Hebrew typography. Now, the one thing to mention about Hebrew is obviously that it's written in right to left. It's an RTL font. So typically when you're typing in Microsoft Word or whatever you use, the program will detect, once you change your language into Hebrew, that you are going RTL and format the paragraphs accordingly. But sometimes you have to manually change it. Sometimes when you're writing in a mixture of English and Hebrew, as any Israeli will tell you, it gets very messy, but you'll learn solutions to these things as you go along. So freefonts.co.il, just to show you guys some of the options there. So you have both nicer versions of your traditional Ashurit block text in Hebrew, such as this font here, and this website's updated somewhat frequently. You can see these two are new. Some people ask, can you type in cursive? So you can type in cursive. There are cursive fonts such as this one, Dana Yad. So if you want to do up a poster or artwork or something like that, integrating cursive Hebrew, then you can just download one of these fonts. There's actually a ton of options. If you happen to share my strange interest in Paleo Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, the Hebrew that was used at the time of the first and second temple, then believe it or not, there are also Paleo Hebrew fonts and even Phoenician fonts available for download from the internet. So there's really a good chunk of fonts here. There's both nicer day-to-day fonts. There's kind of slightly more artistic fonts. I'll put a link to this website in the description. Now, in terms of installing fonts, if you've never done it before, I use Ubuntu Linux, which is kind of an obscure operating system, but generally you just download a font and then follow the instructions for how to install. I just did a video today on installing on Ubuntu. If you're using Windows or you're using Mac OS, then you can see what type of file you get downloaded here. Generally, fonts are distributed as .ttf TrueType font, and installing them is very easy. So just besides those two fonts, just to point out that there also are liturgical fonts. So if you're looking to use a font like this for some kind of a religious text, then you can do that as well. So in order to grab any of these fonts, just click on the download button here and you'll get a zip file. Now, if you open up that zip file, you get, as I mentioned, a .ttf TrueType font file, and they're fairly light. This one's only 15 kilobytes. Now, in Hebrew, every font, in English as well, actually has a different TTF file depending on whether it's bold, italic, underscored. Some fonts even have a few layers of heavy and extra heavy. So just be aware that when you're installing this, you're installing a single TrueType font. This only has one. You will find some fonts even in Hebrew that have multiple files, and those will allow you to do stuff like bold and italics. Otherwise, you're limited to just what this has available. Now, if you happen to be using Ubuntu Linux, as I described earlier, there is a graphical user interface, a GUI, and it is called Font Manager. So all you need to do is click on plus, and as you can see, it's capable of storing both Hebrew language fonts. For instance, this font called Aleph. This is a font which has Aleph and Aleph bold. Now it only does preview the glyphs in English, but that's how you add. You click on the plus icon, and if you see, I've unzipped this Stam Sfarad one, so I can just go onto it here in my desktop, and now I select the TTF, and that's all it takes. You can see this thing is spinning and it's being added. I had 111, now I'm going to have 112. If you want to check that it did get installed, then you can just run a search for it. So you can see I have now Stam Ashkenaz and Stam Sfarad installed in my system, and you can see what the fonts look like as well. Likely you're using Microsoft Windows as your operating system, then assuming you're using Vista 7 or above, all you need to do is, after you've unzipped that zip archive, right click on the TTF file that I just showed, click install, and that will add that font to your computer. Another option I really recommend if you're looking to download a few cool Hebrew fonts onto your computer is using Google Fonts. So most people have a Google account or a Google Workspaces account, and Google Fonts is great because you can select a bunch of different fonts for download them at the one time, and then install them as a bulk. It just makes it a bit quicker. So Google Fonts can be accessed at fonts.google.com. And at the top of the screen here, there's a language selector. So just scroll down to Hebrew, and you can see it's saying now 25 of 1,358 families. So the amount of Hebrew fonts available in Google Fonts, it's a small chunk. It's only 25 fonts at the moment, but the collection is growing, and 25 is better than 0. So you can see there's 25 different fonts available in Hebrew. Michal Shachar from Israeli designers. There's ones that are in well, mostly in I don't see any in cursive text, but there's actually one in Rashi script as well. So that's another thing you can download from the internet. Now, a lot of people these days spend most of their time working in Google Docs instead of using desktop programs like Microsoft Word. So if you want to install more fonts in Google Docs, you can do that pretty easily. So click on the font icon at the top of the screen, and then at the very top, you're going to see a button that says more fonts. And what you can do here is you can search in Hebrew. So let's say I wanted to search for Rashi. So this will pull in from the full library of Google Fonts. So if you want to use a Google font in Photoshop or in some desktop program, download them from Google Fonts. If you just want to use them within Google Docs itself, then you can just do it like this. Search for the font like Noto Rashi Hebrew, then click on OK. Now Noto Rashi Hebrew is available. Now if I start typing in English, nothing's going to happen. It's just typing in a regular font. But if I change my system language into Hebrew, then we can see we're now typing in Rashi script. And then if I go back if I just go back to, let's say, a regular Arial font, and I resume typing in Hebrew, you can see that we're now typing in the default Hebrew script. Now, how does this work if you are using desktop software? So I've just opened LibreOffice here, which is like the main drafting program in Linux. And if you go through the font manager, a useful feature of this is that if there is a right to left font available, it will preview it on the right. So you can see there's some fonts here in Hindi, and there's some fonts here in English. Aleph is actually one of my favorite Hebrew fonts. So again, the same thing's going to happen if I start typing in English. It isn't going to automatically change to Hebrew, but if I change the system language into Hebrew, and I can do another video on how to do that, then once I start typing in Hebrew, I'm typing in this font. And just make sure as well that your document alignment is set left to right. Hope that video has been useful on how to install additional system fonts in Hebrew to your computer. There's a really great world of Hebrew open source typography out there, and if you're typing regularly in Hebrew, or you want to type in cursive or even in Rashi script, then I encourage people to check out these websites. I'll put links in the description. Download and play around with them. And thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to get more videos from me, please subscribe to this YouTube channel.